He says, I want her to know that this was completely my fault. And he says to me, Matt, the reason why I'm coming through is I have to tell the truth because I don't want this to ruin her life. I'm gonna go to Kerry. I gotta come right to that couch. Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you guys are here. And where are you from?
Well, we're originally from Wisconsin, but I moved to Peoria, Illinois.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm so glad that you guys made it here. Right away, there's a couple souls that are coming through. And I gotta tell you, there's a soul that's coming through that I felt passive suicide.
An ex of mine.
Okay.
Just last weekend.
That soul is trying to come through.
Yeah, he had a message he was going to do it and shot himself on Sunday morning.
So he wrote you the message beforehand because you know he just said to me, Matt, he goes, I have to apologize. I have to apologize. And he says to me, he's coming through because he regrets it. Not only does he regret what he did, he says to me, he regrets putting you in the middle of it because you're going through such a tough time right now. And this is what happens is that when our loved ones pass away or our not so loved ones or whoever you want to call them, if they did something here in this world that they regret or that impacted your life in one way, they will use me as a way to come through and deliver a message. And he's delivering this message to you because he says to me, Matt, she can't help but to feel responsible. I'm going to be honest with you. Can I tell you everything? This, first of all, you're very lucky that he's coming through because normally it takes a year's time for someone to step forward.
I know, I can't believe it. Oh my God.
But he's here right now. And he said to me, Matt, he goes, I threatened this many times.
Yes.
He says, so you did not ever feel that this was going to be real. You never felt that he was going to harm himself or that he was in harm's way. Because if you did, you would have called the police or gotten him help or done something. So first of all, I need you to know that because everybody else knows this, but you, when you feel so guilty on the inside, he says to me, the one thing that he's acknowledging is, listen, Matt, he goes, I got to tell you one thing. He says, I want her to know that this was completely my fault. Matt, he goes, I was very jealous of her. I was jealous of her meeting somebody new. I was jealous. He goes, I was jealous of her. He says, having someone else's attention. He says, and even though we were no longer in a relationship with one another, he said to me, I felt like I was losing her. And what was so tough is he says, I made my problems her problems. The whole time that you were with him, you were trying to iron out all of these years of his life. There were so many issues that he had. There were issues with his family that he's showing me. There was issues with depression that he's showing me. And I got to be very honest with you. He's even showing me that he had even issues with his own self-identity here in this world. He says, but Matt, he goes, I got to be honest. He says, I trapped her. I gave her all my problems. I gave her all my anxieties. I gave her everything. And more importantly, he tells me that when he was here, he literally shoved that all on you. And it's like you were running his life here in the physical. You were the one who was trying to get him to work. You were trying to get him to find a job. You were trying to find him things that he liked. You were even introducing him to friends because he tells me he had no friends. He says, and without you, I didn't have a life. You being with him, this was a very unhealthy relationship. And it was an unhealthy infatuation that he had with you.
Oh my God, Sammy, I told you. Yeah.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't want to say this.
Say it.
I don't want to say this. This was not love when I'm connecting.
Mm-hmm.
This was an infatuation and a very twisted one.
Yes.
When I'm seeing this, he shows me that, you know, he was more into what you were doing for him than him after what it was all about him. It wasn't about you.
So it was manipulation. I told you, Sammy. I told you.
This is a very hard reading to do because there's things that I don't want to say, but you know, I made a promise to myself and to the spirit world when I did this that, listen, if there's a message, I'm going to say it, even if I don't want to say it at all. And I'm telling you that because I don't want to hurt you, but I know it's going to hurt, it's going to sting, but it's going to make you feel better because it's the truth. He's showing me that he had his hooks in you here in this world. And when you started to disengage and disentangle from him, the more that he started with crazy things. And he's showing me really twisted things. I see him stalking you. I see that he was looking to see where you were, what you were doing, if you were home.
Thank God he was in Trumbull. Thank God he wasn't in Madison.
He says to me, I want to let you know that I'm sorry for this. He says, because you know, the one thing is, this was all for attention, he shows me.
Told you.
And if it wasn't you, it was going to be somebody else because this has happened before. I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't his fault. I do see when I'm connecting with him that there was a mental imbalance that he had here in this world. And at one point, he does show me he was on medication because of this. And he says to me, Matt, the reason why I'm coming through is I have to tell the truth because I don't want this to ruin her life.
Oh, see, she's had such a hard week. Oh my God, she's had a hard
Listen, this is why you're here. I gotta tell you something. He tells me, he goes, Matt, I did this to the wrong person. You've been having your own struggles with your own anxieties, your own fears, your own whatever. And that's why you thought that you could help him because you saw so much of what you go through every day in him. And you thought, well, I can relate. I can understand. If I helped myself, I can help you. But understand, he mistook that friendship. And he mistook that bond. He says, so please know
so crazy
that this was not your fault. And he's acknowledging that.
What are the odds? I booked these tickets months ago that this would happen. Oh
so
my
you booked this event before he even did what he did.
Oh, months ago. I booked this with you months ago. And she wasn't even supposed to be here with me today. I did it for myself. It's just so crazy.
You know, we have spirit guides around us that guide us, okay? And I don't know what would have happened to you if you didn't hear this message today. And
oh my God, thank you.
And the reason why I'm telling you that is I'm very nervous because he's telling me, and the reason why he's coming through is he's so nervous with your anxieties that this is going to be too much for you. And this is why he wants you to know the truth, because this had nothing to do with you, even though he tried to pretend that it did. And you got caught in that. And he does not want you. This is his way of trying to set you free. And Kerry, did your father also pass as well? Because your dad is here as well when I'm connecting. And he just said to me, Matt, he goes, that's my daughter. So know that that's his way of just acknowledging that he's watching over you from the other side. And your dad says to me, he goes, Matt, can you just let her know? He says that I'm able to think clearly now on the other side, he's telling me. Because he tells me that at the end, there were issues with his brain when I'm speaking to him. Do you understand that? So was this like Alzheimer's or dementia?
He passed in 79 and he was epileptic at the time. And at that time, they didn't know much about it. And he did commit suicide also.
Okay, he's also here. I'm going to tell you something. And this is what your dad was showing me. I didn't understand why he was acknowledging this. Your dad was showing me spots on his head. And when I see that, I think what had happened was that he was having more of just epilepsy. I think he was having mini strokes back then.
Really? Oh my God, I need to tell my mom that.
Because whatever had happened, he's showing me these little spots on the brain. And I'm like, what is this? I don't understand what this is. And that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's Alzheimer's, maybe it's dementia. But he's showing me these little areas that were affected. And he says to me, Matt, he goes, I didn't mean to do this. Your father tells me that every single day of his life, he felt sick. And every single day of his life, he had all of these things that plagued him. And I'm going to tell you something. Your father dealt with a mental illness here in the physical. This looks exactly to me like brain trauma when I'm connecting with your dad, okay? This is no different than if I were, like, for example, having experience as a medium, I can tell you that there's sometimes when I'll talk to souls like that got hit by a car and had a tragic accident years ago, but then they're able to live. They survived here in this world, but yet there's always something wrong where they have memory issues. They have, cognitive issues. There's some delays that are there because of the accident they had years before. That's what I'm seeing with your dad. And your dad tells me that whatever had happened, I don't know if it was because of the epilepsy or because maybe he had like fainting spells. I don't know what it was, but whatever had happened, your dad tells me it threw his brain off where literally he would forget things. Your dad showing me that he wouldn't be able to sleep. He shows me his sleep cycles were completely off where like literally he'd be up for like a week at a time. Like there were all these weird things that were going on with him that shows me there had to be some type of a head trauma or something that he was dealing with. So your father says to me that he wants to apologize because he felt like he couldn't be a part of your life and he felt like he couldn't support you in the way that he wanted to. So know that one of the things that your dad is saying is that he wants to let you know that he's sorry for that. Even though he missed out on all of these years of your life, your dad says to me, I'm still watching over you in spirit. I'm sorry for ever leaving you. But know that the issue was deeper and he's just acknowledging that. So know that that's just his way of bringing it through, letting you know that he is okay and his soul is safe and at peace.
Good. Good.
All right, I'm going to leave you with that.